Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Press Play Streaming Studios Movie Chat. Really appreciate you all stopping in tonight. I know that we're about an hour late. I had a family emergency come up. I had to take care of mom and dad and be sure everything was good. It is. Thank you for all those who had good wishes and prayers setting out our way. We really appreciate it. And from the bottom of my heart, I have to say thank you. So we got a late start. We're going to try to keep it to a close to an hour if at all possible. I'm very, very excited to have some special guests with us tonight from the Scarif podcast. And we're going to be talking about Star Wars, one of our absolutely favorite topics in the whole wide world. For those of you who know me, know I am a Star Wars geek, have been since I was a young kid. And so Star Wars is one of those things that's Luke Skywalker to me has always been my hero. When things were rough in life, I could always look to him for inspiration. So I'm really excited to talk about Star Wars, and we're going to talk about that in the terms of the Marvel paradox. So we'll break that down as we go tonight. Keep it lighthearted and fun. And I have a couple of really nice people waiting in the wings. I'm going to introduce them now. Ladies first, Miss Chanty. Happy birthday to you, young lady.
Thank you.
All right, and then our first time guest with us, if I'm not mistaken, is he the founder?
Yes.
The founder, Mr. Rowe. How are you, sir?
Fantastic. I'm the founder, but it depends on what did I find. I don't know what you're talking about. So
he is the host for Scarif podcast, and we have the Frank in the room tonight as in one of our just longtime friends. Thank you for being here with us, Frank. And we've already sang to her, so you're too late. You told me that tonight you were going to be sipping on some scotch. Is that correct?
Yes, it's right here.
I've got the 1800 going, so don't ask. Nice. Bad day, good day. Yeah, well, that's good. All righty. Anyway, so I know that there's some breaking news right before we went live today. We kind of talked real quick, and Shanty said that she would like to take the lead. Shanty, what's going on out there right now in the Marvel universe? It kind of broke quick. What happened?
So I read that Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney Plus because I guess it was in her contract that the movie Black Widow was only supposed to be released theatrically. And, I read a couple of articles and I feel like I'm conflicted because I feel like that can go both ways. You know what I mean? Like, we couldn't have possibly anticipated that we were going to be in a pandemic. I went to the movies to go watch it, and I went to the movies to see Cruella, and still, a lot of people are not going to the theaters yet. So I kind of see it as, did you really want to take the risk of only releasing it theatrically? But then on the other side, I feel for her because we wanted a Black Widow standalone movie like 5 years ago. So had you done that, she probably, would have, had her due and made her money. So I don't know. I'm really conflicted because you can look at it both ways.
We talked about Black Widow recently on this channel. And Ro, I have a question for you. We were of the opinion that when we first saw her in Iron Man 2, that we were ready for a solo film at that point. What did you think?
I don't know if I was ready for a Black Widow movie at that point. I know, a lot of the characters started to get their own movies, and I was surprised that Black Widow didn't at the time that, the rest of them were kind of getting standalones. I definitely think it's I'm not going to say too little too late. I went to the movies. I went to the movie theater to see Black Widow, and it was really great. I enjoyed it. With me and my friends, it's always kind of an event thing to go see an MCU movie or a Star Wars movie. I think they released it too late, and obviously, like Shanti, you were saying, it's you couldn't predict the events of the pandemic, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad she finally got her film.
Yes.
But we'll make our comments regarding the contract situation in a bit.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I'm conflicted as well. One is, do you really want to mess with the mouse? You know, they're the biggest corp on, as far as IP is concerned. They're the biggest corp on the planet. Their team of lawyers has got to be just. Most people don't go up against them, so she must feel pretty confident that her contract is pretty black and white. So, but I'm also looking at it and going, how confident do you have to be? Because if I'm not mistaken, she's already signed to do a couple other movies for Disney.
I'm sure.
Depending on how
Yeah.
this goes, can they release her from those contracts? I mean, how much is it going to hurt her in the long run? She made 20 million off one movie. It can't hurt too bad. But I mean, so yeah, I think we'll get into that a little bit more as we go on. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about on that, Shanty?
No, that was really it. I just really didn't know how to feel about the whole thing. Because I started I started going in a loop, and I'm like, oh man, I'm stuck in a cul-de-sac right now because I'm looking at it from a legal standpoint, and I get it, and I don't know. I made myself dizzy thinking about it.
I'm with you. I'm with you. So let's real quick, just before we actually dive headlong into our subject tonight, let's just take a second and say to the Frank, Mar, Gambrell, Sith, Care Bear, thank you so much, guys, for joining on tonight and coming in. I know that we probably would have had more people in had we went live on time, but if, either way it goes, we've got great people here. So Josh says, but at the same time, if they violate her contract, it's on them. You're right.
It
You're
is.
absolutely
I
right.
get it.
Did you see that Marvel just recently, here within the last hour or so, Marvel posted a response to her?
No,
Oh
I
no,
didn't
I
see
didn't
it. What
see
did it
that.
say?
I'm going to paraphrase it, but it was basically, I can't believe you're doing this. We had a pandemic. They pulled the pandy card out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so eh, she's milking her last run with Marvel for all she can. I don't blame her.
I don't blame her
I mean,
either.
if she can get it, get it. That's, neither here. I can guarantee this, though. She won't be appearing any more Marvel films, will she?
Well, I might have to push back a little bit on that. I think, contract negotiations and things like this are par for the course when it comes to performers, actors, and big mega corporations like this. We don't know exactly how many lawsuits are generated through something like this. But money fixes everything, and I don't exactly think that she's shooting herself in the foot, because I don't know. Like I said, money fixes everything. The lawyers can kind of come to some sort of agreement. As
They'll
far as
settle.
pulling out the pandemic card, it is kind of surprising, but at the same time, I think if they're doing that, then it might be kind of a move, like a desperate move to kind of excuse what they did. And I think I'm gonna be on her side. As a performer, she has every right to negotiate what she wants, what she thinks she's worth, as far as the IP.
Yeah.
And if Disney signed on the dotted line, then they have to kind of come to terms with those terms. They're a big corporation. They are mega and filthy rich, and they're like that for a reason. Coming from, like, I'm a union member. I kind of am familiar with the way contract negotiations work. I know how big companies kind of behave, and it wouldn't surprise me if they kind of wanted to sneak a little something something under the radar for, folks to kind of, get cheated out of their due receipts there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I think that she's from her point of view, she's thinking that, the more butts are in the seats, the more money she makes.
Right.
I mean, that's just being honest.
And
But
we
look,
don't know what the details of the contract is, so it's really
exactly.
difficult to kind of have an opinion, either way. But
I think
yeah, that's true.
Hold on, no, wait. I found it very interesting. And I'm really not into the legal stuff, but I'm not the lawyer in the family. I read, I think somewhere that if they did decide that they were going to release it on the streaming platform, I think they had to like let her know or something. So I guess that they could go back in there and I can't remember what I read. It was something to that effect. So it almost sounds like they tried to do it anyway
Yeah.
without her knowing, essentially.
Without her
So yeah, I agree.
authorization.
She deserves to be paid for this. Like I said, I think we should have gotten a standalone movie from her 5 years ago.
Sure.
Yeah, and then we wouldn't be in the
So,
situation one way or the other.
Exactly.
Yep,
She was
I agree.
popular enough.
and
I've
that
always
sort
liked
of-
her consistently through
Sure.
the entire MCU. I've liked her.
Yeah, and that, notwithstanding, I mean, getting into another aspect of streaming and new technologies, when companies are presented with these new technologies, there's a lot of gray area there. They don't know, how to assign jurisdiction. They don't know how to, bring forth, this new stream of revenue, because that's what it is. And this could also be kind of a testing ground, which companies do a lot, to see how far they can push the envelope when it comes to negotiations in the future, renegotiations, in the present with their contracts. So it's going to be different. It's going to be difficult. But I am totally in Johansson's camp here, because I think it's unfair. It's not like it snuck up on, this movie was supposed to be released, how long ago?
Yeah.
And,
Right,
there had to have been some sort of discussion between, Scarlett Johansson's people and the Disney people saying, okay, we're just going to do theater, or we're going to do a mix. There had to have been some conversation, say, well, hold on a second. If you're going to do a mix, then this is what is supposed to happen. We didn't have that in the original contract. We need to kind of, revisit that, because originally, right now, what you signed on for was a theatrical release, and this is not what you're doing. You're in breach of contract, period.
Yeah, their contract happened before the pandemic. Now going forward, yes, I think the entire business model is going to change.
It's going to change, and this lawsuit will also cause a lot of it to change.
Sure.
I love this. So Josh, our friendly neighborhood Care Bear, says that he feels it's a little petty that Disney pulled the COVID card, and I agree with him.
Yeah. It's Disney.
Frank says it's a dick move, and I agree.
It is a dick move.
But I will also say this. Frank hit this one on the head. They deserve to get sued, if nothing else, before the sequel trilogy, and that'll actually bring us a little bit closer to our subject tonight. So we're going to I'm going to throw one at you guys that you weren't expecting. Well, hello, Nicole Marie. How are you?
Hey, Nicole's here.
That is that Nicole the Red?
No.
No, wrong one. Sorry.
That's
Sorry. Sorry.
Peace, Love, and Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oh, peace. Oh, great. See, I don't know everyone's names yet. I'm still learning. Peace, love, and Star Wars. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it.
And you're thinking of Natalie the Red from
Natalie the Red, yeah, from Force of Light.
Yeah.
I don't tell her, but I get her name wrong all the time, and it's really sad because her and her
Takes a
sister,
while.
as I said, are really the inspiration for me starting this channel. So, real quick, we all know Disney has a lot of dick moves in their bag, but
Sure.
have you heard about the hiring that they just did? That's actually phenomenal.
A good thing, yeah.
They
Yeah.
hired
Is that
a
official?
YouTuber.
Is
It's
that
official. Yes. They hired a YouTuber. I wish I would. It's part of what I was planning on having ready for us tonight. So I just want to talk about it real quick. But I was going to pull up the pictures for you. This guy took the deep fakes that they did for Luke and redid them, and it looks like Empire and Return of the Jedi Luke. And he did such a great job that they hired him.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
It's fantastic. Not only that, but if you go on the internet, guys, and you look for it on YouTube, he did a Harrison Ford, where he took Harrison Ford's face, de-aged it, and put it on the Solo movie scene where they're all sitting around the campfire. It's amazing.
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
It's great. And Disney hired this guy.
Yeah.
You know, that gives the rest of us hope, right?
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
It gives the rest of us hope. You know, we're just a bunch of Star Wars and Marvel nerd geeks somewhere out here. I mean, You get someone like Roe or Star Wars Theory, right? Josh from Den of Nerds. I mean, these guys are, deep cut guys. Wouldn't it be great if they just, even if it was just to hire them to go, you know what? We need some better social media because Disney needs it, right? Lucasfilm needs better social media presence. Let's get some people who are known, who other people respect, and let them go freely and do the thing, right?
Right.
It would be great. Then you maybe would stop getting the. Well, we'll get into that too. Sipcaper, they have a whole bag of dick moves. And they want to know why I love it when Josh is on here. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of what we were coming to talk about tonight. So tonight we're talking about the Star Wars Marvel paradox. What that means to me is very simply this: Star Wars is, in my opinion, the greatest IP on the face of the planet. It is so rich in lore. It is so rich in a universe that has already been built. The characters, up to a certain point, were handled with such care and love that you could buy into it. But then Disney took over, and God bless them, they didn't take the same care. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, and again, this is not to this is not going to be a sequel hater moment. Okay. If you like the sequel, God bless you. I'm glad that you do. I wish that I liked it more. There's parts of it I love, but most of it not so much. I wish I was one of those people who loved it. I really do. I wish I was, which would have meant that Disney handled it right, but Lucas and Disney didn't. So we've heard recently that Dave Filoni is the executive creative director now. It's my understanding that that means that pretty much any forthcoming Star Wars story has to go through him. But did that decision come too late?
Well, they recently announced that, but that actually happened a couple months ago. So he had already been in that title like months and months ago. I think it was February. But we're just hearing everybody talk about it now because the Star Wars website was updated. So people are thinking like, oh, it just happened. I think it happened like months ago. As far as it being too late, I don't know because, I think because of the sale of Star Wars and Lucasfilm to Disney, I'm gonna attribute it to like growing pains. There's a whole bunch of gears moving here. I don't know. It's a massive behemoth of a property to kind of to go at it on the transition on the first leg of your tour here. It's it's difficult. It's difficult. There's a lot of people in play. There's a lot of balls in motion. I think they kind of just used maybe this sequel trilogy to kind of test things out.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they are listening. A big company like Disney is never going to say, "Hey, we were wrong. Sorry about that." It's just not going to happen. But I think seeing what they do going forward, whether it's I don't know, just listening to the fans in some way, and obviously hiring this guy to do special effects now, and he's a YouTuber and a fan and that sort of thing. I think those actions or those types of actions are what we need to focus on in order for us to kind of see, that change, that corporate change in corporate mentality.
Yeah. I agree. What do you think on that, Chantal? Do you think it's too little too late yet? I know we can't help it. Josh just kills us. We're all reading this and I'm really trying to focus on what you're saying, Ro.
What? No, I listen. I don't know. I love Filoni. I've been
Yeah,
saying that him and Favreau should just take over completely, honestly.
yeah,
But I agree. I agree with Ro. Yeah, I was disappointed with the sequel trilogy, but at the same point, it's true. Star Wars is huge. It's been around for a long time. So has Disney. So I can only imagine what that transition must have been like.
hmm
And I get people are angry. I was angry too with the sequel trilogy, but I mean, we got to be forgiving. It's a business. I
it is a
mean,
business.
and I get
Well,
it. You know,
they gave us
we're
Mando.
fans. I know we're obsessed. So I understand. I get it.
You know, and it's funny. My wife, God bless her. You know, Ro, as I've told Shanty many times, and you may not know this, but my wife's not a movie fan at all. She doesn't get it. She doesn't get why I
It's so
love
funny.
Marvel. She doesn't get why I love Star Wars. I think
Same here.
you know,
Same here.
saying, okay,
Yeah.
well, good. Then you'll get where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
But she even understands that it's huge,
Hmm.
and that Disney, you know, we were talking about it, you know, and I was actually kind of excited when I heard Disney took it over, because I was like, okay, you know, they've got all this money to play with in this huge sandbox with all these toys in it.
Hmm.
But she understood that when we talked about the reactions that I had from the sequels, she was like, oh, something's wrong. She goes, you
Mm,
know, this guy who loves everything Star Wars is disappointed. There's something not
not right.
happening here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so, um, Chantal, you ready? You got it? You ready? See, the thing is, sorry, guys, that's an inside joke. I love you too, baby. Thank you so much. Um, my whole thing on this is, we all know that Filoni is the Star Wars guru. I mean, he worked right under Lucas. He knows everything there is to know. And looky here, a first time chatter. Dennis, good to see you, my friend. Dennis Shields played drums in a band with me, and I've known him and his brother for years and years, and it's great to see you on here, sir. Um, this is where we're going, Josh. This is actually what the whole thing's going to
Jumping
be
ahead.
about. You're reading ahead. Stop that. You know, Filoni's got it as far as his understanding of Star Wars. Favreau has got it with his understanding of Marvel. But the state of Star Wars as now is pretty decisive, or excuse me, divisive. That's the word I should have said. Um, is it possible that us OGs and those Raylos, you know, hopefully I'm not offending anybody by calling you on that we can come together moving forward? Can we do that? You know, I mean, there's some pretty toxic crap that's been going on.
Yeah, that's a hard one. I mean, each I think each trilogy at some point, although I'm gonna each trilogy has had a set of defectors.
Yeah,
But I want to say that I don't really remember the original trilogy having as many defectors as each trilogy. From that point, you obviously had the George Lucas Raid My Childhood from the prequel trilogy. Obviously, this trilogy with Subvert My Expectations, etc. Um, but yeah, I mean, we split up
yeah,
for reasons,
yeah,
and I think a lot of people see those reasons. There are some diehard fans that love Star Wars no matter what. Slap a Star Wars logo on it, I love it.
yeah,
Put Darth
yeah.
Vader on it, I love it. It's I find folks like that a little odd, because there's no way you can love everything.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be like some critique. But yeah, as far as bringing those two groups together, or all of fandom together, I do want to say that The Mandalorian has done a really good job thus far of just kind of like bringing everybody together.
It's true. It's true. And I was really hoping that I love it. I was hoping that one of you were going to bring that the Mandalorian into it. But here's my thing, and I'm going to say this: Care Bear's right. Right? They need better oversight from above. We'll get there, my friend. Also, Nicole, you hit it on the head.
Absolutely,
It has to
absolutely,
be a
absolutely.
choice. I really was hoping that I could get a hold of him, and shame on me for it being last minute. But I was wanting to have um, Star Wars Santa join us tonight. If you guys haven't watched any of his shows, he's really good, but he's a big proponent of the sequels, and he loves Ray, and he'll and he's open to people like us who don't, as long as we're kind, discussing it and explaining why. And I think that actually is going to be a really good show for us to have in the very near future, because it'll show, in my opinion, it could show. The toxic ones out there that, hey, you know what, there are people that have varying opinions in Star Wars that can get along and still be friendly and kind, and like each other even though we have different opinions. And
Yeah,
I
we
think,
do it. I think we do it all the time.
yeah,
I think there's a facet of the community that may be, tired of the toxicity and just want to enjoy what they want to enjoy. And Nicole had mentioned earlier, you popped it up earlier. I mean, it's how we choose to be a fan. I always equate that with Yoda's line in The Empire Strikes Back. When Luke asks Yoda, he starts putting on his gun belt, and Yoda's like, "You're not going to need them," and he's like, "I'm going to take them anyways." What's in there? Only what you take with you. So if you bring that crappiness to the table, then of course you're gonna, that crappiness is going to grow. But one thing that I really love about the group that we all kind of interact with on this Bird app is that we are such a diverse range of opinions, and
yes,
we can still coexist. And I think
hmm,
I'm hoping that that type of mentality changes the narrative of being a fan of anything, really.
yeah. And it's funny that you said that, because and I'm going to paraphrase it, but the quote between Luke and Yoda that speaks to me a lot when I hear all this toxicity, is when Yoda says, um, "War does not make one great."
Yeah.
Right? I love it. War doesn't make, us fighting and clawing at each other and being nasty to each other does not make us right.
I'm writing that
Just,
down.
it doesn't make us right.
They're
War
movies.
does not make one great. Exactly.
They're,
But you know
And
what
it's,
though? Yeah,
they're
I'm gonna.
meant to entertain.
Yeah.
Look, we're obsessed. I love them. I do. I love these characters so much. I mean,
oh my
every time
God.
one of the actors passes away, I feel like a piece of me has died.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't get me wrong, but at the same point, it is a movie. Like, relax. And I get it
Relax.
more when I talk about the sequel trilogy. I have to rethink so many tweets when I want to tweet about the sequel trilogy, because that's
So,
the one I get the most heat from, because I don't
Yeah.
like it.
but here's the thing that I think that's funny. Okay. We're taking Revenge of the Sith out, right? We'll just look at the first two. Very divisive, right? Hate it. It's horrible. It's
Wait,
too
which
kiddie.
Revenge of the Sith?
Yeah, we're taking
out?
Revenge of the Sith out of the conversation because most people loved it, right? Or am
Okay.
I wrong?
Episode 1, Phantom
Yeah,
Menace.
he's talking about
I'm talking about
prequels.
Phantom Menace and Clone Wars.
Okay.
See, I love Phantom Menace, so I didn't understand
Well,
what the problem was.
Yeah,
It's Attack of the Clones that I don't like.
Yeah,
That's
it
the one I
depends
don't
on.
like.
It
Well, there's
depends
a
on who
reason
you
I don't like
asked.
that one. But that being said, as divisive as those were at the time, right? Now people look back on them with fondness.
Oh, yeah. I've
Do
softened
you
a lot.
I know where you're going with this, and
do you think we're going to get the same thing for the sequels?
No,
I don't either.
No,
I don't either.
I
No.
really don't.
And-
There's many factors there because as divisive, and I'm going to say it in quotes, as divisive as Phantom Menace and the rest of the prequel trilogy was, and I don't think they were as divisive as these new films were. They were still the voice of the creator, George Lucas, and I think a lot of people, a lot of fans, in hindsight, have given those films kind of a more lenient
Yeah.
perspective.
I'll agree with that.
I don't think that these new films in 20 years are going to be the new OT, because there's so much wrong with them from character perspective, when it comes to how they're placed in a supposed Skywalker saga that is so separated from the rest of the family that they're just not. They're not going to be as revered. And I don't care how rose-colored your glasses are, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
I feel obligated to watch them. Like, that's how I feel.
I
Instead of enjoying them, like, I just feel like, okay.
I literally, all right, Rose. So I quickly told Shanty this a little while back. I walked out of the theater on the movie that shall not be named, and literally was confused. I was like, "What the hell just happened to my childhood?" That's exactly what I looked at my son and said. "What the hell just happened to my childhood?" But that being said, I purposely went back and watched it again. I watched it by myself. I wanted to really try to understand. You know what I'm saying? And by the time I got done with the second time, I wasn't confused anymore. I was angry.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you how I would have fixed that movie. Are you ready? This is how simple this would have been. Ray hands him the lightsaber. He looks down at it with gratitude, and he looks up and smiles and says, "I've discovered I no longer need this, but you will." And he hands it back. And then he trains her like a Jedi should. It would have changed the whole tone of the movie, the way he sacrificed himself at the end, everything. We, as Star Wars fans, would have been like, "That's Luke. That's the Luke I know," because he was positive and he knew that there was help. He knew that he could help her because that's who he is. If he would have went into hiding, he would have maybe went into hiding for 3 to 4 months, maybe 6 months to learn more about himself, and he would have turned around and went right back into the fight. That's Luke. That green milk drinking, tossing the lightsaber over his shoulder. Can you tell I'm a little passionate about this subject? That's not Luke.
Yeah,
that's not
I
my
feel
Luke.
the same way. Because I
get
look
it.
at it from an acting perspective, because that's always going to be where I go first. So when I see Mark Hamill's reaction as Luke to seeing Rey at the end of Force Awakens, and just giving that intense look of like, oh my God, here we go. To then go to the beginning of the next movie and him just toss it aside as if nothing, I felt, there's no other word, I felt insulted. No, I felt insulted.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
And listen, I don't want to get into the whole this is how Luke should be kind of thing, because after they explained what he went through with Kylo Ren, who I can't stand anyway, and this and this and that, okay, he's been secluded, whatever. Okay, fine. But to see him toss that lightsaber, I had like a visceral reaction to that.
Right.
It was like, how dare you?
we could trilogy hate all night. So let's move on. Okay, so here's my question. All right, with Jon Favreau's history with Marvel, do you see a chance that they will take the Marvel approach, building a lasting future for Star Wars? Now, I want to back up on that question just 1 second and say this. I'm not talking about having to build characters from the start. Those are worlds from the start, right? The Star Wars world is already built with such lore. But as far as character building for new characters and existing going out, can you see that Marvel approach would actually be a good thing for Star Wars?
Sure. As long as it doesn't look like a Marvel movie.
Yeah. I think
That's my only worry.
Sure.
Because I think it's already being done.
I want to separate.
Yeah,
the two.
I mean, there's certain aspects of the film that shall not be named that reminded me kind of a Marvel. I think and Chantal can tell you, I don't like humor in my sci-fi.
Right.
For the most part, I just
Right.
don't.
It's true.
because
I've heard that stream. I know.
Yes.
so when it comes to, and people make fun of me, but I respect Star Wars, and I love
get it.
experiencing the galaxy far, far away that way. But one thing. Okay, so Star Wars and MCU are two totally different animals. But
I agree.
One thing that Star Wars can learn about the MCU is the planning aspect, the long game aspect of the MCU. You can't do an MCU in the form that we have gotten an MCU without a little pre-planning and just writing things down and making a timeline and figuring things out beforehand, because this handing off the baton to a different director / writer for every movie is just not. It just didn't work. It
No,
just didn't
it
work.
didn't. It didn't. So on that, I'm gonna ask Chantal a question. Or Shanty a question. Shanty, if knowing Favreau's history with Marvel, do you think that the character building approach is a good way for Star Wars to move on? Let's go a little bit more specific, because if you think about it, the way they did is they built Iron Man up, right? And then they added a character and built them up, and added a character and built them up. I like this this not team driven thing like DC, but I'm going to tell you that we're going to get some team ups in Star Wars too.
Yeah.
But I think if they handle it the correct way. So what do you think? Do you think that's the smart way for Star Wars to do it?
Yeah. I would prefer that, honestly. I mean, my thing is that what characters now, because now we've got these sequel trilogy where we've established these characters, but we didn't spend a lot of time really getting knee deep into all of their history. So now are you starting over? Are you going to continue with them and give us flashbacks? Like that would be my question, I guess, to be able to answer that. Which direction are you going in now?
Ro, my statement on that is I think that they're already actually doing that, and that's what Mandalorian's all about.
Yeah.
We have
and Bad Batch to a certain degree.
But that's
and
what
I
I say,
agree.
does it benefit more from a series than a movie? I mean,
I
I'll
think
take
what
all the
we're
movies. That's fine.
yeah.
Anything
I think
throw
what
at
we're
me,
going to
it's fine.
see, we're going to see a Thanos style culmination, and this is just my opinion. A Thanos style culmination in the theater as it pertains to Thrawn. Excuse me, Thrawn. And we're getting the character building through Mando. Cara Dune would have been a great character had that not transpired the way it did, which is another thing that makes me angry. If you ask me, Din Djarin, he is the Iron Man of Star Wars right now, right? Because they're rebuilding off of his back. And then you've got all these other characters that are coming in that are starting to get their own spin-offs and so forth. And I don't know about the two of you, but I am so excited about Ahsoka Tano being back in Star Wars, especially in live action.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about as far as the Marvel paradox. I think that with you got to, right? You wait a minute.
He's on my couch. Oh. Thank you, Disney. He's so cute.
Absolutely, they started
I love
something
him so much. They really
they
did. They really know. They really.
They
know what they're doing
started
when it comes
something
to that.
with this Mando where they built.
Yeah.
They have built in new characters. They've brought it, and this is what they missed with the sequel trilogy, bringing in new characters and building them. relying on the characters that Star Wars fans already love, putting them together and allowing them to grow together.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion on why Mando works. I missed a chat just a second. Give me 1 second here, guys. Let's pull this up. DC went straight to the team up without setting up characters, then focused individually afterwards. And you're right. That's where we're going to do a DC versus Marvel on what DC did wrong. They relied solely on the number one IP of as far as comic book characters. Everyone knows Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, and they thought they could carry it, and they can't without giving them a reason to carry it as a team. Yeah. Nonetheless. And I agree with this also. This is what we're talking about. Grand Admiral Thrawn is the Thanos of Star Wars. What do you think about that aspect? Do you think that that's where they're going?
I do. I think obviously the appearance and objective of Ahsoka Tano during the the events of that episode in Mandalorian really set things up. It got us curious. Obviously, Thanos was not Thanos. Thrawn was name dropped, so that got everybody buzzing. I think it's going to be one hell of a ride. I think a lot of fans are now expecting that. If anything, Filoni is kind of like Palpatine. He plays the long game. He's not afraid to introduce certain aspects of story that he's planning on teasing out in the future, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, I agree. So do you think that we're going to get some more Luke in with this with these series?
If they hired that guy,
God, I hope so.
Yeah.
What a great moment that was.
And one interesting thing, I think a couple of weeks ago, it was announced, somebody found out that the term, what was it, Skywalker Academy was registered under a Disney trademark. So there might be something going on there. So we'll
you
see.
just saw a geek get really, really excited. Okay, so Ro, if you ever see this, I'm like really pumped. My son Stefan, who's my normal co-host, told on me one night, that I have a tendency when I get really excited in a movie, that's what I do because I don't want to bother anybody. I go, and I didn't even realize I did it until he pointed it out. And I was like, yeah, so what? Anyway, yeah, I agree. So if Din is Iron Man, and they're bringing Luke back, could he be our Nick Fury in Star Wars?
That's interesting.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
The guy who pulls the right people together.
Mm-hmm.
To what end, though?
Yeah.
My thinking on that would be if he's playing the Nick role, the Nick Fury role, if they're kind of looking at that character as a very tilted mirror, he would be the one who ties the glue together between the different shows and characters in order to be sure that the right people are in the right place when it comes to taking on Thrawn.
Okay.
Not necessarily that he's like the leader of everyone, like, or tries to assert authority, but maybe he's the one who kind of, because Nick Fury's kind of the glue for the Avengers, the kind of, the guy who kind of pulls them together and makes them kind of, work well together. Mm-hmm. I think I could see him in that aspect being the guy who kind of says, okay, here's what we have to do. Now go do it.
Yeah, I find that interesting because, I've always spoken to the fact that all the events that are happening in The Mandalorian and The Bad Batch and all this stuff, are leading, to some degree, to the events of the sequel trilogy. Uh-huh. But we already know what happens in the sequel trilogy.
Right.
Snoke dies, Luke dies, Kylo dies, whatever. So all those things happened already. So we already know. So why are we being told this story? Now, getting back to what you said, Alan, regarding, Luke being the glue that kind of guides the characters that we are seeing now, not towards the sequel trilogy, but maybe towards a Thrawn mega event, makes a lot more sense to me than all the events happening now that are leading to the sequel trilogy. So that I find that fascinating.
So here's what. Okay, I I'm going to say something. Shanty, don't yell at me. I do not want them to do away, as most people do, to do away with the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
It's not. I mean,
It's
it
not.
can't.
It's
And those
not.
who think it is are just
Fooling
they're.
themselves.
Thank you
Oh,
for
yeah,
saying
no,
it that way, because
they're-
I was getting
they're
ready to use
drinking-
a.
They're
Yeah.
drinking the Kool-Aid.
No,
I
don't
was
think they're
getting
gonna
ready
do away with
to
it.
use a very country phrase that probably, oh, what the hell? They're pissing up a tree. They're pissing up a rope, is what they're doing.
Yeah, it's
you know,
not going to happen. There's so much. If that were to happen, there's so much stuff that would open up. You know, as much as I dislike that middle film and would love for them to try again. First of all, it's too late. It's too late. Carrie's gone.
Yeah.
A lot of the actors are starting to die off. But it's just not going to happen.
I agree. So here's my statement, and Josh, here's where I think that if I were part of the team that they consulted, right? It's a huge galaxy that Star Wars is in, and we all know that the unknown region is part of where Thrawn hangs out. Okay, who's to say that this stuff wasn't happening over here while this stuff was happening? You don't even have to do anything but mention it, that it's going on, and you can go on with another story, and everything's fine.
Right.
And it makes everyone happy. The OGs and the Raylos get to keep everything.
Yeah.
I probably, you know what? That's somewhat of a derogative term. I should probably think of a different term to use. I
No, I love
have.
it. I think it's
Don't
great.
they call themselves that?
They do.
Whatever.
They do. For those of you who are in the chat who may not know what a Raylo is a fan of the coming together love affair, if you will, between
Shipping.
Kylo Ren and Rey. And I
Get
won't
it.
ever call her by
Get it.
I will never call her by the last name.
No.
And that's sad, because you know what? I think she did a great job with what she was given.
Yeah, I do. I do.
I
agree.
think if someone was to say that they're going to bring
I
her
loved
back,
her.
if they're going to bring her back and Dave and John are in charge, I'd be like, yes, right? I would be. I'd be excited for it. It's a great idea, but no, you're right. You're right. He said, Josh said that he don't think that they're going to lean on a legacy character like that. But okay, Josh, let's look at it this way. What if they do it that way? What if they lean on the character, but it's just like Nick Fury was in the early movies? He comes in, he says his piece, he puts the people together, and it goes away, and you don't see him.
Yeah.
He's only in the movie for like 5 to 10 minutes max.
And we know that supposedly, Luke and Leia are trying to, bring systems together to start creating a new, government. So I can definitely see that happening. He comes in, does his thing, tells everybody to, get together, and then leaves. I mean, he can mention Leia. It would be awesome. Obviously, the technology is there that, they can do whatever. But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways they can go. This is a huge contention.
God.
Okay, Josh Irwin. Josh Irwin's a friend of the group, just so you know. He is part of the Nerd Squad. Would you like to set him straight, or shall I? Go ahead. Go ahead, Ro. Go ahead, Ro.
It's not my show. I'll be polite.
Josh,
What a gentleman.
there is no such thing as gray Jedi to any lore person. Although I understand what you're saying, and I've used the term gray Jedi before. Ahsoka is in my opinion, Ahsoka and that's Ahsoka. She's the closest thing you get to a gray Jedi. But
You really think so? That could be
Yeah.
a whole nother show.
Yeah.
I've also heard that Qui-Gon Jinn.
Qui-Gon was, and that's where I was going to say it was
I can
Qui-Gon
see
and
that.
Ahsoka, but I think Ahsoka's more so than he is, because she's no longer calls herself a Jedi, but yet still practices the Jedi way.
But the term gray Jedi signifies that an individual can also tap into the dark side.
No, I don't agree with you.
Okay.
That's one aspect of Gray Jedi. Okay, a
Interesting.
Gray Jedi is someone who uses the Force in who is guided solely by the Force. So if the Force dictates light, dark, and different, it doesn't matter. They're only following the Force. They're not a Jedi in most cases. The term Gray Jedi is where you get the problem because the two words don't go together, right? As far as the Jedi is themselves is concerned, you're right. Qui-Gon Jinn would be the closest that you would ever get because he followed strictly what the Force was, but he did it under the guidelines of the Jedi Code. Right, a true a Gray Jedi had they been, if the Force was leading them to wipe someone out and they didn't know why, they'd still wipe them out because that's what the Force wanted them to do. A Jedi would not do that.
Right, and I don't think the Force works that way personally.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I was just trying to use an extreme example.
Okay.
Frank says that Rey was probably the only bright spot in the sequel trilogy next to Bobby Frick. Bobby Frick was funny. So here's another one. I like this. Would Frank would Mace? Frank says, would Mace Windu be considered a Great Jedi?
No, but Frank would.
Yeah, because by the because by the definition that you gave, he would be.
Interesting.
Because his lightsaber style draws on the dark side of the Force.
Right. But yeah, I think Sam Jackson opened a can of worms with his selection there at that point. I think again, it's just a movie, but I think George Lucas should have told him, no, we can't do purple. Mace.
I like the purple. I thought the purple was great.
Yeah, I did too.
And the Shatterpoint. I mean, all those types of Jedi powers that Mace carried that no one else did. I think that had Anakin trained under Mace instead of under Obi-Wan, he would have been nearly unstoppable. Don't get me wrong, I love Obi. Obi's one of my favorite Jedi of all time. But to be able to tap into someone's dark side energy and reflect that back to them through battle with Anakin's already overdeveloped lightsaber skills would have been unstoppable. It would have been unstoppable. Sidious would not have been able to stop him.
It's too bad that Qui-Gon died before, because Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan had such an interesting relationship, and they were always questioning each other. They were always learning and growing from that uncertainty that Kenobi had with some of Qui-Gon's decisions. And I think had Qui-Gon not died, Kenobi I think would have probably been a better Jedi and a better teacher in turn, because I think Kenobi still had questions, and to throw Obi-Wan into the thrones of no pun intended of becoming a master, becoming a teacher to little Annie, I think that and Brad and I have talked about this on our show before. I think that was the first domino effect of Anakin's downfall.
Well, I think the first domino actually came before that. I think when they declined him and talked so poorly about him in front of him, when Qui-Gon introduced him to the masters in the chamber, and they're all sitting on their little stools, and they're going, "He's too old, and he can't." Blah 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 blah. That was, in my opinion, that was the first domino. But Qui-Gon's death was the finger that pushed those dominoes. If that makes sense,
Sure.
To me.
Yeah, I think so.
And Lucas actually said that had Qui-Gon not died, we would have never had Darth Vader. He would have never turned.
I agree with that.
Yeah, totally agree.
So, because he would have believed him when he said, "My mother's in peril." Right? He would have believed him and helped him, because that's who Qui-Gon was.
Right.
If the Force showed you that, then there's a reason it showed you that. Let's take care of that. That's who he was.
Would enabling him still have led the same way, do you think?
No, because he would have taught him how to handle that.
Okay.
because that's the way he was. He would have been more along the lines of Qui-Gon than he was more along the lines of Obi, who was strict rule follower. That
Right.
was Obi's
Yeah.
only
Mhm.
really major downfall. Well,
Yeah. What a
And they
bureaucrat.
argued about that in the novels. They
hmm
are,
Yeah.
yeah. So
All right. So if I could take just a quick break from this, you guys, I tell you what, this actually went in a lot different places than I thought it was going to, and I'm loving it. But
we're
that's the way
It
nerds.
usually does.
that's the way my show always
Does.
goes, doesn't it, Shanty? We
Yes.
go. We're going to start
It's
here and
fine.
wherever we wind up. If you're in the room and you have not liked and you have not hit the subscribe button, they are right down below. Right, they're right down here somewhere, down here on the bottom. As I say that. We are now offering exclusive club membership to anyone who is currently and who is going to subscribe. When you hit the subscribe button, you can consider yourself automatically part of the Nerd Squad. And what you get from your Nerd Squad is the bragging rights to say that you're part of the Nerd Squad because we can't give you anything else. We're a small channel. You can use the Nerd Squad hashtag when you're on Twitter, right? Because you've seen me put it out there before. Hashtag Nerd Squad. If you hit the subscribe button, if you're part of our channel, remember this right now. We love you. We appreciate you. And you are part of us. You are part of the family. You are part of the Nerd Squad. So that's just where I want to go. Okay, back to the subject. So Josh says Qui-Gon would have built Anakin up and not tear him down like Obi-Wan. Do you really think that Obi-Wan tore him down?
Yes, I do actually. A little bit.
Slightly, yeah.
Yeah,
Again,
just
Brad,
a
Brad
little
and I
bit.
have talked about that, and just again because Obi-Wan was such a by the books kind of guy, and
Mhm.
Anakin was more
Free-spirited.
right, free spirited, fly the seat of your pants, etc.
Well, and I think that's where what I was mentioning before about the difference between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, is Obi-Wan was so by the book
Right.
that he couldn't see that there was any other way, where Qui-Gon was like, close the book and let the Force guide you. Because and I think
Yeah.
that I think with Anakin's more reckless personality, that's probably would have been the best type of teacher for him, or someone like Mace who would have been extremely strict and held his feet to the fire at every turn, which Obi didn't.
Right.
Yeah, I think Qui-Gon would definitely. He would have definitely helped build Anakin. I mean, when you take somebody under your wing, you look at their strengths, and you strengthen them. You point them
It's a
out.
sign of a good teacher, right?
Exactly. I think I think Josh hit it right on the head.
But I have never once doubted that Obi-Wan truly did love Anakin.
Oh,
though.
absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just
so
think it's like you said, like you need to take a look at the student individually, and you didn't switch gears to
he
accommodate him.
he tried to
Right.
put him into the same type of training that he had.
Right. And that
Because that's
just
all he
wasn't going to
knew.
work for somebody like him.
He was so young when he took him as his Padawan
Right.
that
Yeah.
he didn't really know how to train him.
Right.
He was never the father figure. He was always his brother.
Yep. True.
And that's God bless Ewan McGregor. I love him. Anyway, if anyone comes to me and says to me, "Who's your favorite Jedi?" I said, "Oh, despite all his faults, Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
I think he
like
is.
Obi-Wan too. Me too.
And that's because of Ewan McGregor. Because I mean, he was, as much as I love the prequels, he was the only one that truly acted his ass off through the whole thing.
He's the only
You
one worth
bought-
watching.
He bought you bought everything he did. Well, him and Sidious.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Frank, I'm going to tell you right now, buddy. If they screw this one up,
They better not. I'm so waiting for that.
if they screw it up, I
Nandor.
think there's going to be a lot of us OGs that are going to go. "Oh,
I'm going to
boy."
be pissed. I'm
Yeah.
so looking forward to Kenobi.
I'll turn it off and not watch anything else until Ahsoka comes back on, and then I'll be watching it I'll be watching it through closed eyes and hoping that something bad doesn't happen.
You know, it's funny. I'm not. I'm not the boycott kind of guy. Again, I wanted to love The Last Jedi after The Force Awakens. I didn't. But I think for me, being a fan from the beginning, I'll watch whatever. They would really have to screw something up for me to kind of just stop watching. And I have friends who are OG fans, like me, who have never seen an episode of The Mandalorian after The Last Jedi, have never seen anything Star Wars new, none of the new animations. And I find that, me personally, I find that odd.
Yeah.
Because it's still Star Wars. It's... And I might be an exception to the rule. I always say on our show that, you cut me and I bleed Star Wars. And I know there's quite a few of that type of fan out there, but I'll try anything Star Wars. And most likely I'll enjoy it. It would take a lot for me to screw with that, I guess, that algorithm of me liking anything Star Wars. And I know I don't like The Last Jedi per se, but, I mean, come on. Look at the actors that are involved in Kenobi. I'm sure they'll like it.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Boy, I don't want to open up that can of worms because we could be here another hour, and we're already an hour in. I don't know about you guys, but it does not feel like an hour has gone by already.
No, at all.
Never.
And it's funny because I always tell my wife, I want to try to keep it at an hour. At an hour and 15, that's when I'm going, all right, guys, well, I got to cut it off now.
Not to sound dirty, but it is okay to go longer.
Again, you and my wife, you need to talk. You would get along so well. Josh says he thinks that Vader and Obi-Wan are going to have a confrontation that makes Vader think Obi's dead.
They're definitely going to have a conversation. I don't know about thinking that that Vader, Vader thinking that Obi-Wan is dead, but they're definitely going to have a conversation or a confrontation, not a conversation.
Well, they might have one of those too.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people are hung up on the whole I haven't, that's a present I haven't felt since line.
Right, and even when they faced each other, when I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. It's like, wait a minute. If wasn't that on Mustafar?
Yeah.
But I still contend that another confrontation can still happen, and that line can still hold up.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That.
I am too. And
you know what? We're never going to forget that birdcage place, man. Never.
Never. Oh. Good. I'm glad.
Am I not in on the joke?
You're not. You have to go to Scarab Con. You have to be there.
You know what's funny?
It's like Vegas.
I live in just south of Cincinnati, so I'm like 3.5 hours away. And when I heard about it, I was like, man, if I hadn't been able to plan, I would have driven up there and been like, hi, I'm Alan. I'm with Press Play Streaming Studios. I only have 50 subscribers, but man, we love our show. See what we got here. Let's see. He was a learner of the dark side. Now he is the master. Yeah, that's a twist on it.
That's a good interpretation.
Yeah. I will say that I think what we're going to see between Obi and Vader are going to be more flashback type things. I know that there have been, and I purposely haven't looked at them, but just by the labels, it's like set shots of Hayden in his war era garb. So I don't know. But I'm looking forward to it. If they handle it with care and they do the story right, yeah, I'm all in. I am all in. So anyway, sorry guys. I know we got sidetracked from our normal conversation, but
it's totally fine.
So that being said, with so we're going to jump back on it real quick. So between Filoni and Favreau, Filoni's Star Wars guru, and Favreau, and now we hear that some of the Marvel creators who've created wonderful movies for Marvel are have Star Wars projects coming. Tycho has a Star Wars movie coming.
Oh yeah, Taika. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
Um,
I'm optimistically I'm well. I think I'm less optimistic and more cautious, as you know,
yes,
through my
because of the
for
comedy.
the comedy. I just don't want Star Wars to turn into slapstick goof fest.
Right.
Well, listening to your, and by the way, I told Shanty I was so angry with you over this, but listening to your Star Wars comedy episode, I'd been working on this idea in my head for a while, and I heard it, I was like, son of a bitch. Anyway, it's always been infused with comedy. I mean, you've got
Yes,
the
but
droid, the droid comedy. It's how it's handled, I think, is what makes the difference. I mean, you can't tell me that they weren't going for a comedic turn and hitting it hard with the everything's fine. We just had a blaster malfunction. How
Right.
are you? Right? I mean,
There are comedic moments in Star Wars that are
Yeah,
where you
they're-
genuinely laugh, but
right,
it's not
but
a
it is
comedy.
delivery. It definitely is delivery.
It's not every other line.
The impact of Harrison Ford delivering that. It's it's a lot different than Yo Mama jokes at the beginning of a Star Wars.
and that's where I said, if it's handled correctly. I sit there in the theater with my mouth hanging open going, did they just do that? Did they really just do that? Please tell me they didn't just do that.
Yeah.
Yes, and I agree. But do you hear that kind of humor in most Marvel films? The your mama joke?
No, but they're definitely funny.
Yeah, they're Marvel definitely does not take itself serious, and that's why I think I accept that aspect of the humor a lot more, because of the nature of what Marvel is. I mean, it's adults in spandex running around, swinging from trees, buildings and blowing.
So
things
that's
up.
different than adults in tunics swinging from trees and buildings.
Yes, damn it.
Keep in mind, I'm Star Wars through and through. So when you said that, I was like, did he just say that out loud? Really?
It's a lot different. It's a lot
Yeah.
different. Yes, I mean, it's,
I do
could
feel like we
spend
were
another-
given something a little bit more serious from the very
Yeah.
beginning. Just
It
with
was.
a sprinkle of, comedy. Because like I said, C-3PO for me has always been the comedic relief of Star Wars.
but it's
just
it
because
was
of how
very
he is the way he
unintentional.
is.
Yeah, and it was
No, it is.
unintentional.
It's just because
it's
he has so
him.
much emotion and he's so
Right.
fearful and,
I don't think it was unintentional.
Well,
I don't
from
at
a
all.
character standpoint, George Lucas obviously it was intentional for him because that's how he wrote it. But from a character standpoint, in universe, C-3PO's humor is just matter of fact. It's not anything that he's trying to do.
Yeah, he's not trying to be funny. He just, it's just his
Yes.
reactions to us. It's funny.
The English accent, the way he carries himself,
Actually.
the movements that he does, that character
That-
was built to be comic relief from the get-go.
I think so.
And had anyone else done it, it wouldn't have worked.
Sure.
You know,
And that's how George Lucas framed it, through the inspiration of the old Kurosawa film of the Hidden Fortress. It was those two bumbling fools in the Hidden Fortress that R2 and 3PO were modeled after, and
I love the fact the originals were actually basically told through the eyes of the droids.
right.
I love that.
yeah.
And I think that's also part of what failed. I won't say failed. Well, what made the prequels feel different, and definitely made the sequels feel different, because that wasn't the case. They missed that. Hey, this is what's going on here. In case you didn't know it, they totally missed it. I mean, but some, like you said, Ro, in your previous podcast, and I hate to quote and point this out, but the whole my head's being drugged behind me, and the body joke and the head separation joke and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't need that. You don't
You know,
need
when
that.
I went to Los Angeles I stood in line in front of the Grauman's Chinese Theater for 2 nights to sit, with the rest of the nerds waiting
Yeah,
for the Phantom Menace.
yeah.
I remember, when Jar Jar stepped in the poodoo, I remember thinking, no, when that creature at the pod race let out a some bad gas. I remember
Hmm.
sitting back and saying, "There is now a fart joke in Star Wars."
Yeah, when he slipped on the poodoo, as you
Right.
called it, I I I was like, but Lucas said he wrote that for his kids,
Yeah, I mean, I
Right.
get it.
and
I
I
they
get
get
it.
loved
it.
it.
Yeah.
I get it too. It's just us OGs, us old people, us. You know what I call the OG, right?
Yeah.
Us old guys.
Old guys. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
But
us.
I
That's
didn't
when
I
I
didn't
when
appreciate it either as a 13-year-old
you
watching the
know
prequels. I didn't
us old
appreciate
guys
it
go,
either.
what are you doing?
It was really
Um,
kiddie.
yeah, it was, and that was the whole purpose. Let's see. You're just writing all kinds of stuff here. What do you got going on, Chantel? You're
What?
supposed to
She's having
I'm
her own
so sorry.
conversation.
be.
I'm
See,
not one to interrupt.
we get to
That's my
talking.
problem.
We get to talking, and she's like, "I'm not going to interrupt. I'm just
Stupid
going to
autocorrect.
say
I corrected myself.
my." It's funny. All
3PO
right.
is more human than the humans. That's what I said.
Yeah, he's more us, right? There were times that I thought that R2 was more earthbound
I love
human
R2.
than the characters were.
So sassy.
Josh says, an R2 pulling it out and sticking it in
I
strange
have
computer.
said that
Are you
for the
drinking tonight,
longest
Josh?
time. No, because I have said that for the longest time. I was like, this guy sticks it anywhere and it fixes every problem.
if
He's assaulting every ship he boards.
if if droids could be perverts, R2 would be one of them. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Why do you put up with her, Ro?
I don't know. Because I'm fun.
She's fun.
She is. I agree. She is. I agree.
Sometimes I'm
Anyway,
an idiot too. So
so real quick, everybody, I think we're at a point now where we're kind of running low on topic, and we're just talking because we like to talk to each other. I would like to take a second to thank Chantal for coming on because today
Sure.
is her birthday,
Woohoo!
right? And she is a big whopping 24 years old.
thank
And
you. It's
and
not true, but thank you.
just wanted to everyone in the chat tonight, and anyone who happens to be visiting or rewatching later, be sure to send her a message. If you look in the comments below, her Twitter account is there. Send her a message saying happy birthday. Um, and I want to say, Ro, thank you so much for allowing me to borrow her from you because that's the way I see it. She has probably been the most reoccurring guest that I have.
I know.
And
Good.
up until this episode, last week's episode, my wife literally said to me, "That was the best episode you guys have ever done."
Well, if she
And
approves, that's
well,
all that matters.
well, the reason I say that is Rose. I've said that she's my wife is my number one fan, but she's also my number one critic. She will break it down and go, "Hey, you're doing this, this, and this. You need to stop doing those things."
As it
Right?
should be.
Which is exactly as it should be. And I take it. And she looked at me and said, "I have nothing critical to say. You
Wow.
and Chantel
Good.
Yeah.
blew it out." So
Oh,
that's
good.
awesome.
Nice.
I don't know if I should post this up for everyone to see, but I'm going to. Josh says he has many STDs.
My God.
According to the
What
last
do you do with him?
according to the last post, you might want to be careful with your statement here, Nicole.
It's contagious.
The droids love you too, Nicole. So do we all. So do we all. All right. So, is there anything that you've got coming up in the near future, Mr. Rowe, that you would like to tell our audience about?
What is today?
Today is
Thursday.
Thursday the 29th.
So today we just released our episode
Time
on time travel. Frank was kind enough to join us. He's one of our patrons on the Scare of Scuttlebutt podcast. He joined us, and we talked about our favorite time travel, movies or TV, shows that use time travel. So we just released, we just dropped that this morning. Had a lot of fun talking with Frank about that. I think last week we also did another Quick Cuts episode with our fellow Red 5 Network members at the Escape Pod. And that's going to drop next week, too. I might drop it early on Tuesday instead of our usual Thursday, but we have that coming. We have all sorts of collaborations geared up for August. And, as everybody knows, all of our members and friends of the Red 5 Network, we love collaborating with folks, and, the more the better. So we have a lot of things coming up, and I'm just really excited. Thank you for having us. And
Absolutely.
We just love talking nerd stuff.
I love being here.
So
And Deadpool was a blast.
Deadpool was a blast. We
fun.
laughed.
I loved Deadpool. Yeah, that was
we
great.
laughed so hard that night. I thought I was like,
We talked about Deadpool for about 20 minutes, and then went on a tangent
And
about
then went
other
on a
stuff.
tangent.
But it was still funny.
So here's
Still
the funny thing, Ro. Just so you know, if you and I wanted to say this in with all my heart, in all honesty, you're welcome on our stream anytime. If you see, hey, Thursday nights they're talking about this. I'm free. Send me a message. I'll put you on. You're welcome.
Awesome.
I love the fact that you were here tonight. And I want to tell all my normal people, even though they're not everyone's, not everyone. Well, I've got people, everyone in here right now also follows you. So anyone else who's my friends or whatever that come on to check this out, you have got to check out the Scare podcast. I'm telling you, these guys are, and Shanty, you're, how that goes. They are fantastic. They know their stuff, and they like to, just like us, they like to laugh and have a good time. Rose got thick skin. He has to, because Shanty will pick on him. So they are
not that bad.
No, not at all. They are a lot.
Or am I?
Shanty, do you have anything going on that you'd like to talk about, other than the fact that it's your birthday?
I'm still on vacation. I'm doing nothing. And it's
so
wonderful.
mad at you. I am so mad at you right now. All right, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to stick you into the back into the green room and hang around for a couple minutes, okay?
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone in the chat. Love you all. Woo-hoo.
Woohoo! All right, guys and gals, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much for being part of our stream tonight, especially considering the fact that we had to come on so late. Frank, I hope you're still on here, because I have to say this to you. Your message to me on Twitter was so uplifting. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It really, the little things like that really help in a hard time. So thank you so much. I promised my wife I wouldn't get all teary-eyed and gushy, because I'm a crier. I just am. So I just want to say thanks very much to everyone being here. That being said, we here at Press Play, we consider you our friends. Just remember, you always have friends here with us at Press Play. Come by anytime that we're talking. Get in on the chat. Grab your favorite beverage. Grab a snack. And just remember, guys, always Press Play. Love you. See you guys.